Hey, Spanos Antics fans, how we doing? Well, I just wanted to have a quick chat. The summer is over, the rain is here, it's cold, it's miserable. Which is a good opportunity to give the Volvo a little bit of love. Now, I was supposed to be going to a drag racing weekend in Cornwall last weekend, but the Volvo has taken on a little bit of an issue. She started smoking pretty heavily out of the breathers. Now, I don't know what is causing this. She's still making great power. She still runs great. Idle's a little lumpy, but it's been like that for a while. So I'm not exactly sure what it is. It's a lot more crankcase pressure than I want. I'm unknown exactly what's wrong with this. The options are, option one, knackered piston rings, due to me not gapping rings, because I didn't know I was supercharging it. Option two, I've damaged a oil ring lanyard off the bottom of the piston and pushed one of them off. Option three, I've got a failed head gasket. I reckon it's one of those three. Anyway, I'm just gonna keep driving this a little bit locally, nothing crazy. And in the meanwhile, we shall rebuild. And off to Reading to collect this little bad boy. We have another 3UZ block here. So my plan is to take this block, pull the heads off, look down the bores, make sure it's all okay, push the pistons out. I've got some thick rods, 1UZ thick rods, to chuck in it. I will put a new set of piston rings on, gapped for boost, and we shall build that up as a nice little budget short block. And then in the spring next year, we will yank this motor, swap the heads, swap the headers, swap the sump, bang it back in. And there is my budget rebuild. So yeah, in this episode, basically, I'm gonna tear this engine apart and have a look inside and see what we think. Cool, let's go. Right, well, I've got the motor on the stand now. I've had a little look inside. Hard to see with the lights, but there's no like mega scoring in the bottoms of the barrels. Obviously, it's easy to see it from the other side, but this is what I've got. It's, you know, I'd say it's medium. I think it's going to be all right. Obviously, it's still got a load of old crusty seals in it, let alone the original head gaskets. The question is, the idea of this engine was just to sling it in the car with all the bits on it, just to keep me going while I build up a forged engine out of the one that's in it, which has got a lot of blow-by. So I'm not supposed to be getting too involved in this. But, you know what it's like? I was like, well, I could just pop the head gaskets off and put new head gaskets in. Well, if I'm gonna do head gaskets, I might as well do rings. If I'm gonna do rings, well, I might as well go to full hog, redo all the valves, do the valve stem seals, do the VVTI weird little O-ring thing. And then we're just into it, aren't we? So I'm just deciding which way to go. I think I might do a little rock auto order and see where we go from there. Yeah, I'm just gonna super speed break it down. If there's anything of note just on the way, I shall stop and show you. Okay, well, it's time for the first head to come off. Right. Oh, she's lifting. Well, first impressions underneath the head. I know they're wet because I filled them with oil, but nothing horrendous. Well, first impressions aren't bad. They're a little bit polished, but there's no like deep scoring or anything. So let's pop each other head off and then we can spin it all over. Oh, there's a little thing left on. Here we go. First impressions. Heads look very consistent. Nothing immediately screaming, I've got a burnt valve. And they all look the same, which is always nice. Oh, God. So the heads are off. And I've cleaned all the oil out of the bores. And you know what? They ain't looking too bad. There's a bit of tissue paper in there. There doesn't seem to be anything too bad. No scoring. A little bit of shining. Just kind of what you expect. But you know, for an unknown engine, I am pretty happy with these bores. Okay, so next step with this second-hand block, we are going to take it home, put it in the shed, because I can work there in the evenings, once the kiddies are in bed. Just like I did with the first engine, a little bit each night. I'm going to pull the rods out of this though, pull the pistons out. As I said, we're going to do rings, gapped for boost, and 1UZ thick rod swap. So I've just labelled up all the pistons, as you can probably see. Just written all the numbers on them, so as I take them apart, I've got orientation, and I've also got arrows pointing forwards. So what I'm going to do now is flip it upside down and pull out these pistons and have a good look at them, basically. The most important thing, really, I need to look at is the big end rod bearings. What do they look like? How does the crank look? If it all looks tickety-boo, I can order up some standard replacement bearings. If not, it all gets a bit more complicated. Crank needs to come out, go and have a regrind, yada yada. So I'm hoping we can just slap some standard bearings back in and call it jobs are good 'un. So let's whip one out, shall we? Crack these off. Let's turn the engine a bit so you can have a better view. How's that? Please be nice. Okay. Here we go. The bearing's still in there. Ooh, snap. Well, if I don't mind saying so myself, that looks fucking... Oh, didn't swear. I don't mind saying so myself, but that looks brand new. The only lines you can see in there are the factory machining lines in the bearings. Look at that. Oh, I'm happy with that. The oil rings passed. And bada boom. First piston out. Obviously seen some mileage, but you know what? I'm pretty happy about that. She don't look too bad at all. Right. And again, bearings look absolutely fine. Sweet. Right, let's put that back together. Okay, well, I've got a new set, I say new, a 30-year-old set of 1UZ thick rods. They actually came with all the pistons on, which I've just knocked them all off. These are, I think, are they VVTIs? No. Late. Anyway, knocked all them off, we don't need them. So we're just going to use the rods and put them into the new, put them into the 3UZ. So there's one of my 3UZ pistons, number 7, and the rod. Now before I even take it off, you can see there's a bit of a difference in the rod knees. So I'm just going to knock the pin out of this and just have a look at this rod, compare it to this rod, and then we'll just see how they look. Okay, I've got that gudgeon pin knocked out. All it has is a little circlip. That's number 7 out, and now we can really see this rod a bit better. That's the side by side. Into normal view. And overlay. It's quite a bit more meat. Okay, just a quick weight comparison. 3UZ. 581 grams, skinny rod. Thick rod, 629 grams. So here's my crank. Now you can see obviously where the bearings have been, but if you run your nail across there, there is not a single ridge or line. They are pretty, they're like really smooth. So they just need a bit of a polish up and a bit of a clean up. Here's one I made earlier. See this one? Already spangled up. So the process I'm using, it's pretty basic. I'm using some wet and dry sandpaper. Now I'm using 2000 grit. I think people recommend to use a bit coarser, but I don't want to. So well, I think that looks pretty damn good. Right. Now a nice clean, another lint-free cloth. Oh, look at that. Boom. That looks better than that. Right, I'm just going to go do the rest. Well, that's that done. I tell you what, they came up bloody lovely. Right, next up, let's look at these bores. So the barrels are pretty good. They just have got a little bit of carbon deposit at the bottom, and they've got a little slight glaze. I'm putting new rings in, so I'm just going to give them a quick light touch with the stones. So I'm not going to put too much pressure on them, and just going to lubricate them up and just do a few passes. Really important thing with this is 45 degrees. You want to try and get those cross hatches at 45. If you just spin it fast and flat, you just put rings. So you have to come up and down at the same speed you're rotating round to get all the 45. That's the plan. So that's the one side we've just finished, as opposed to this side. Okay, so I've been pulling out, I've got all the pistons out, which you've already seen. So one at a time, I am taking them apart, pushing the gudgeon pin out, putting all the ring, I'm not going to reuse the rings, but I'm keeping them for reference because it's always nice. And then taking these inside and sneakily washing them just to get the worst off, and then I'm going to give them a really good clean. I'm trying to get my mates to put them in his cleaning machine. But just cleaning out all the oil galleries, they're actually really not that bad, and if you can see that, I've cleaned them out pretty well. And they're not too bad at all. So these are all cleaning up really nicely. So I'm just doing them one at a time, really, just going slowly, taking my time. Just making sure those oil galleries, the ring journals are all nice, because that's the important bit. I've still got a few to do, but we're getting there. Let's get this rod torqued down. And then we can take it apart again and see. We're obviously going to do this more than once. Going to do it on every single journal, but let's take you a bit closer. That is essentially our splat mark. We're going to work in milliometers. No, that is inches. Spin it. What do we reckon? I'd say it's exactly that. Okay, so everything's clean. I spent quite a bit of time cleaning these pistons and trying to get as much out of all of the piston ring galleries, and now they're just covered in WD. And then there behind them is all the rings for reference. I've actually got all of them labelled, numbered and piled up just to keep them all in reference, just in case. These are all the gudgeon pins, and they're the gudgeon pins from the 1UZ, and these are the pistons from the 1UZ. I don't know if I'm going to use the 1UZ gudgeon pins or the 3UZ gudgeon pins yet to be decided. But next up, it's weigh-in time. Let's see if we can find the scores on the doors. Okay, it is balancing time. So I'll show you how I'm going to do it. I'm just doing this with essentially homemade kit and some cheap scales. So just hope to get it better than it was from standard. I'm just getting as close as I can with what I have. So I've got the 8 pistons, which we've seen me thoroughly cleaning. And they are all cleaned out. One thing I did notice afterwards, I had cleaned these, I'd soaked them in baking soda, scrubbed them. Those little oil gallery holes, you can just see through that one. There's 2 in there. One is at, there's 2 in there. One is a straight through hole and one is a bit of a tapered hole. Well, not tapered, on a bit of an angle. The angled one has a lot more goop in it. I think it's the bottom 2. Really clogged. Some of them are completely clogged. And you couldn't tell until I ran a little toothpick through there, and then I realised they were clogged, and so I started running, just using a little drill bit with my hand, not actually on the drill, just to clean out all the gunk and then clean them out. So that nearly got missed. So I'm glad that didn't, because they looked really clean from the outside. So yeah, so here we have pistons, rods. Rods were a bit trickier to do, but I've made a bit of a homemade balancing equipment. We'll start with the pistons. So what we're going to do, made a bit of paper, 1 to 8. I'm going to weigh them 3 times and do an average off the bottom. And then I'm going to take a little bit of material off. Here's my little scales. I'm using a socket on there just to space it really. Okay, first one going on. I'm just going to try and line that up perfectly in the middle. Scores on the doors. 386.7. 386.8. So let's put that down on here. That is piston number 1. 3. Okay, so I've taken all my weights. Actually, the little Chinesium scales are bloody accurate and barely any difference. Most of them were exactly the same, even after 3 different weigh-ins. So we're going through all this. Our lightest piston is number 8, coming in at 285.5 grams. So the plan is to bring all of these down to him. So how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to remove a very small amount of material. And I'm going to be taking it from these areas. Just on the inside of that lip there, inside of that lip there, inside of there and inside of there, and I'll take a little bit off all 4, just a gnat's fart. And I'll be doing it with just a little die grinder, and I'll just be dig, 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 weigh, and go again. So let's get on it. So it's 6.8. Well, that is done. We have got them all to 385.5 grams. Bang on. Some of them had to lose nearly a gram, which is quite a lot of grinding actually. I'll just show you. Slightly nervous grinding some of these. So some of them just need a little bit on the shoulders, and some of them, like number 1, I had to take a bit off the ends of the corners of them, a little bit off the edges. 2 of them needed a gram off, number 1 and number 7. Yes sir. Next up, Rodney's. Next up is rods. So first things first is to put the bolts in. These are the bolts I'm using. There's the, oh, where's the part number? There's the part number. They're actually an LS1 part number, if I remember rightly. Cartoon Company hooked me up. Well, I say hooked me up. Cartoon Company has them on his Facebook page, on his Cartoon Company had them on his YouTube channel, the right part numbers. So, we'll bang these in. Okay, here's my simple setup. I've got a stand I've made out of a heavy, and I've got another little stand which I put on an extender so I can do the big end first. So I'm just going through all of the rods, putting them on here. I've got a little marker where I want it to be, and I'm just up and downing it and setting it till it pretty much, you know, get the same result 5 times in a row. I'm then going to take them all off and run them all through exactly the same process again until I get them perfect. And I'm happy with probably 3. I'll weigh them 3 times, and then we'll start taking some material off. So I'm putting actually in the gudgeon pin, just because it makes it sit on this thing a bit better. Probably not the proper way to do it, but it's doing no harm. So I'm sliding it on, and I'm sitting it on this. If I get a bit closer, I've got my little red mark, and I'm lining that up with the 2. I'm lining it up with the 2 marks. Oh, it's just hard to do with one hand. And so I see I'm getting a consistent result again and again and again. That's good enough for me. That took a while to get my homemade jig dialed in for the big end of the bearing. I've done quite a lot of weighing and finally getting a consistent result. I've weighed them all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 times. So we need a little bit off them to bring them all down to the same number. I'm going to do that by just removing a bit of material, probably off these. They've got a nice big knob on the end on these things. So I'm probably just going to use that as a way to remove weight. Right, let's crack on. Okay, so it's time to talk about ring gaps. Got a new set of rings. I did struggle a bit with rings. I found Hastings. And I've done quite a bit of research to figure out ring gap sizing. It's a minefield. There's so many things to consider. But I think I'm basically going to go for around, I haven't decided exactly, 0.23, 0.20, around 0.25, then 0.24 on the first and second rings. But before, I'm just going to go down and measure my bores just a bit more accurately. I'm actually going to measure at 3 different points. and just to make sure, obviously I've rehoned it, but that's only just re-putting a surface on it. I just want to see what sort of difference there is between the top and the bottom of the bores, just to make sure they're within tolerance. Right, well, I've never actually had to do this on a UZ, only ever on air-cooled stuff, so it's kind of new for me. So if I'm doing anything wrong, please feel free to mention it in the comments. Here's a top ring. We are going to push it into the bore. We'll start by measuring the top because it's the easiest. Now the way I'm going to set the measurement on this is I'm just going to use different bits of the piston. So I'm going to start off. By dropping it in and measuring the first one, probably just to the edge of that ring lanyard. So I'm using the piston to square off the ring. So that's my first depth. So I shall measure my ring gap, and I'm just using feeler gauge in the little notch within the actual ring itself. Right, a bit hard to see, so let's just rewrite them. So let's try 23 in the gap, so 23 fits. 23 fits in the gap nicely. I'd say that's a perfect fit on 23. Let's just try 24. Oh, yep, 24 does fit. It's just and that's 24. So the last one, let's try the 25. These do seem to have a larger ring gap than the original. Yeah, 25 don't fit. So yeah, so that's a 24 at the top. So we'll push that down and measure what we got at the bottom. You can do that by using the piston again. And this time I'm probably just going to push it down and flush it off, I think. Feels like a... I'll just see how deep that is in the... And that's about halfway. So let's do a halfway measurement, because it's going to get bigger as it gets deeper. 25 does not fit. 24. We went from 24 to 25 on the depth of that one. So I'm just going to mark this up, move on to the next one and go down the line. Okay, so I've just checked all of the bores on this side using feeler gauge and the piston ring, and they have come in quite consistent. We've got only one slight variation, so we are 24 thou at the top on all of them, apart from number 8, which was coming in at between 24 and 25 thou. It was, I could just about get a 25 in there, it was tight. And then all the bottoms are 23 thou. So we're 0.0 thou out between top and the bottom of where, I suppose, down the chamber. Where I'm measuring the 23 is where the rings have never been down. It's past right down where the rings never actually meet, so it's sort of the original bore. So pretty happy with that. It's within tolerance. So now I can use these measurements to set that one. I'm going to flip the other side and just do the other side to make sure there's nothing weird and discrepancies going on. Well, I'm pretty happy with that. They pretty much are all identical and perfectly in tolerance. Hey, right. I think it's time to start building up the pistons and the rods. As you know, it's taken quite a while to balance all these little puppies up and clean and balance all the pistons and all the gudgeon pins and everything. I finally got them all there. I've also had all the rods on the crank one by one and done the squidge down test with the plaster gauge. As you can see, all the different journals. If I rotate the crank, each one of those is 2 rods per journal, and you can see I've left them on there to show you they're all pretty much exactly the same and all within the correct tolerances. So all those rods now are labelled up, numbered up. They have the bearings to stay with them forever, and those bearings correspond with those gaps on the crank. So just need to build these up really. street weekend isn't that far away, and we got accepted, so we got to get ready. I've done everything I can do at home now. I'm just not finding the time to put it together here, so I'm actually going to take it back to the workshop, and there we shall start reassembling the motor. I've had a random couple of days pop up at work, which are now available because one of my customers' vans is waiting on parts. So I've got 2 days free. So we're going to rip the engine out of the Volvo and crack on. So let's get to the workshop, shall we? There's something quite cool about the fact that its broken engine has carried its new engine to the workshop. And here it is, all wrapped up. So we just need to get this out, get it on the engine stand, get the old engine out, take all the bits off we need, bang them on here, bang it all back in, try and blag a link ECU off someone, get it remapped, retuned, and do smoky burnouts and win street weekend. You know. I doubt we'll even achieve half of those things. We definitely won't achieve the street weekend, but you know. Right, so there we go. We are off again. Volvo 3.0. First things first, we are taking the loom off. Just undoing all the plugs. Had to cut a couple, which were didn't have speed connectors on. Last one. Well, no signs of anything funny yet. Chambers all look okay. Coming out pretty treacly. That's black as black. Right, we've got it all stripped down. Everything's pretty much off it. It's just the engine with the heads on. I've got to get these heads off now. I am going to reuse these heads because I've spent a lot of time port matching. They've had refaced. They've had all the valves out. So I've done quite a bit to them. So I'd like to just put them on a new block. But I want to just check my valve clearances on these, just to make sure, because you have to take the cams out of the heads to take the heads off. So this is a good chance to do it before I take it apart. Here's my beautiful diagram. You've got all the cylinders. She's 32 valves, 2 valves per cylinder, 2 exhaust, 2 inlet. So I'm just going to go through with the feeler gauge, fill the gaps, and then I'll know what shims I need for the buckets and cups. Or if they need anything, they might just be fine. So, but it's a good time to check now for future. Let's crack on. Okay, first head is off. There's not much to see of excitement. Looking on the head, there's no obvious cut throughs from the galleries to the chambers on this side. All looks fairly consistent. This is the one that looked like it was got water or water in it and around it, and actually now I've pulled it out, there is some like goopy brown congealy waterness. Oh! Crack in the ring lanyard. Just there, you see that? That's our first proof that we've had heat. 2 cracks! Double crack lanyard. Well, there we go. We must have had piston. And looking at the state of the barrel, methinks that piston pinched a ring, scored a barrel. Straight rod though. Look at that. Right, let's pull some of the rest out. Well, the jury's in, the pistons are out, and we have found the culprit. There's a lot of piston missing on every single piston. And these aren't piston rings. These are the ring lanyards. They're supposed to be between the piston rings. Every single one is blown out. Dead. 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 So there we go. Problem found. Alright, so this is all the pistons lined up. 1 to 8. All the gudgeon pins are in. All the rings are laid out, ready to go on. I've run out of brake clutch, so I want to clean these rings again before they go in. The block is sat there. Old block is packed away. So that's pretty much had everything stripped off I need. And torn apart. New block is at the workshop. I've just taken out its packaging. It looks lovely. Still looking beautifully and honed. So now I just need to get these bad boys in there. Right, I think I finally reached the part where pistons can go in the block. This has taken quite a long time to get to this point. These pistons and stuff taking a lot of work with all the balancing and cleaning and all that jazz. Anyway, let's have a look at the journals. They look spanking. Here's the journals. They are all polished, as you saw in the earlier video. And here are the rods, all assembled. Now it's just a matter of slowly putting these in. Annoyingly, I don't have a nice ring compressor for this size, so I've got to use this wong tong rubbish. But hey ho. And we're just going to slowly assemble them. I'm going to put some running in lube on these. I'm just going to slowly sleeve them all in. Okay, so I've checked all the valve clearances on the cylinder heads. It's cylinder head time. I was hoping to just slap these onto the new block. I've checked all the clearances, and you've seen that. And although there's a few slight discrepancies, they're all within tolerance. And because I'm pretty sure this engine is going to be blown apart again quite shortly, I'm going to leave them as they are. They're all within where they need to be. But I do need to check these valves are seating properly. And the way I'm going to do that is with brake and clutch cleaner and my high-tech cylinder head jig. I'm basically going to fill up the chambers with brake and clutch and see if anything bleeds past the valve seats. If they do, then they're not seating very well. And if they don't, happy days, these heads can go back in with just a clean up. And that is very good news, because time's ticking. It is March the something, 12th, and the poor Volvo is sat there looking miserable. So I need to crack on, man. Street weekend is going to be here before I know it. So anyway, enough chat, let's have a look. Well, I've definitely got one leaker. There it is. See how that's all wet? All the rest, bone dry, of all the cylinders. So out of 32 valves, 1 has got a leak. That's not too bad. We'll pop that one out, reface it, job done. Yo, how's it going? Quick update on the engine. I had a disastrous day yesterday. I'm zipping through this little engine rebuild, mainly because I've already filmed building one of these engines. So if you're interested in building one from scratch-ish, jump on there. You've seen on this one, putting the rods and bits in, which is we didn't do last time. Anyway, I put the top end together, but I've had a massive disaster. I managed to snap a camshaft. Why? Because I am an idiot. Here is the offending camshaft. This camshaft lives in this head. Now, I spent 8 hours putting in the camshaft and taking it out, pretty much, because I left the new studs, here they are, the ARP studs. The first 2 studs need to be cut down, otherwise they hit the scissor gears and then they crack your cam. And when they do that, you have to try and source a new cam really quickly, which luckily I had. But then you have to re-shim all the buckets. And that's a mission. I'm not going to bore you with that process. It was a nightmare. But where I am now is ready to put this head on. So let's get the other side built on, get the supercharger on, because we've got some exciting news. And it's in a small box there. Anyway, we'll get up to that in a bit. Right hand side. Boom, boom, boom. So I pre-cut these studs down. Hopefully they're short enough. Well, the engine's built up pretty much as a long block. Sumps on, heads are on, exhausts are on. It's at the point now where I need to lift it off the engine stand and stick it onto a dolly so I can deal with the flywheel end and also put the supercharger and stuff on. I don't want to add any more weight to this trolley because it's looking a little bit leany and I don't want it to fall off. So that's the next stage. Crane's just coming up in the lift. And we'll bang on a little frame. And then we can put the gearbox on and she's ready to slap in. Now there's a load of little fiddly bits because before this engine goes back in, we are doing a standalone ECU swap. We are going Link Extreme. It's a bit more complicated than I originally anticipated because essentially I'm changing every single sensor and injector and throttle body to Bosch. So it's all good quality Bosch stuff that will work well with the Link. The list of fiddlies are, number one, I need to make a throttle body adapter from old school Toyota to the German Bosch, which will be going Bosch, bish, Bosch there. It's hopefully going to go straight onto the supercharger without the need for that little dingle dangle. So I've had to order up a load of pipe work because we're going up to 89mm instead of 76. Next up, injectors. These little piddly injectors are maxed out, as we found out on the rolling road last time. So I've ordered up, again, some Bosch 550s, and then there's going to need to be some adapters for the air correct and also adapter into the top fuel rail because I haven't got the wongies for fancy blingy fuel rails yet. My buddy is also going to make me a new supercharger pulley because now we've gone thick rod and we've got fuel, we can up the boost a little. So we'll see how that goes. As well as that, we are changing knock sensors in the block. We'll go for them later. We are changing water sensor. We're putting a new sensor underneath the supercharger. Basically a load of sensors. I won't bore you with them all. Another thing I'm doing is the vacuum actuator for the supercharger has always been a bit yee-haw. I welded something together in a hurry for Street Weekend last year. There's a bit of a brake nipple and it was a right old hodgy-dimmy-bodgy, all welded together, bits and bobs. So I'm trying to make something a bit more professional. I have just threaded the rod, bent round and re-threaded this, put an M5 thread on there. And then we use some of these dingly-danglies. And we are putting and fitting in the end of that. There's already one on the supercharger. So essentially a little end goes on there. And then we've got like one's a reverse thread and one's a normal thread. So that will end up going in here. Turn that around. And you can actually twist the rod with your fingies and adjust essentially the preload on the spring. So your man who's doing the tuning rings me up. I don't know where the months have gone. As you probably know, I've not been that active on the old Facebook. Life has been busy, man. Work has been busy. The Volvo's just been sat there, slowly building the engine. But all of a sudden, he's ready for it. And all of a sudden, it's April. Where did that come from? So I need to slap all this stuff together, get it in the car. Now I'm going to slap it together with original injectors and sensors to start with, just so I can start the engine to see if it actually works. And if it does, then I will swap all the injectors, swap all the sensors, and then we'll just, it's just a matter of getting it to North Cambridge. I obviously got on a trailer, and we'll just fuzz it up there, because it won't run, because it'll be hating life with a different throttle body and sensors. So anyway, first job is to get this thing back together in the car. So that's what I'm cracking on with. Right, let's grab the crane and sling it in. I'm not going to film the full process of fitting this engine. You've seen me do it 3 times before. So if you want to know, just skip back to the old episodes. There's like 20 episodes on this car. Anyway, let's crack on. Well, it's getting pretty late, but I think I'm there. So I'm just going around just checking every single little thing, just to make sure I've not missed something. I've tried to do everything as I go and not leave stuff to go back to, because you never remember. So and I'm just going around just checking all the little bits and bobs. I've put all the gear shifter back together so I can put it in neutral so it doesn't shoot off. And put the ECU back in, even though it's only going back in just for running this engine in for a couple of 100 miles. But anyway, so we'll have a quick zip round and then I think we'll go for a test fire. Got oil pressure and no fault codes. Well, it does feel a little lumpy, but hey, she's in. There we go, it runs. Not great, but hey, it's not exploded yet. So tomorrow we'll put the water system back together and give it a proper run up and give it a little drive. Right, I'm done, I'm beat. See you later. So, test drive was going all right. We were running it without any boost, just to test it all in. Then switched it over so it would run boost, just to see if we're loading the ring, because we had smoke puffing on runoff. But that seemed to all cleared, so we thought we'll put boost, see how that runs, did that. And it was all running groovy until the supercharger seized on the dual carriageway. Just straight up stopped working. We got it towed back here and now we are stripping it apart. So we're just tearing it apart. Got the back off, the back was all clean and lovely, no issues. Took the snout off because probably gonna need to reuse that. That's all good, bearings are good. So something is stopping it rotating. It seized so hard that the belt span on the pulley. So we're just tearing it apart really. Only problem is this. It's supposed to be going to the tuners on Friday. And it is Monday. Ooh, yes. Anyway, let's find out what the problem is. Right, we've just made a tool to do a thing. Moment of truth, which I'll be now drawing. Ooh. There's your problem, mate. That is a nut. What? There. You can tell by the crossing of it. This little fucking M8 piece of bastard, as annoying as it is. I've been up since 5 in the morning. I needed to find a supercharger, and I needed to find it quick. So, the only one I could find within not a bazillion miles was one in London. So this morning I got up at 5 in the morning and drove just over 2 hours to go and pick up a new supercharger. I had to pay more money than I wanted, But I needed it, and I needed it quick. So I'm finally back to where I was 2 days ago. After my early morning jaunt by a supercharger, I have put it all back together. Now's the moment of truth. I haven't even tried to turn the motor since it happened. I don't even know if the motor's damaged. Let's find out. Pulling my hair out, running like shit, and I've just figured out, I think, what it is. Vacuum leak. And you know what it was? Under here is a little sensor that I don't even use, that just lives in there. And I took it off for the adapter plate to fit, and that's all it was. So I'm just gonna bung that back in. It's alive! Sweet, it's back, quick little test run. She made a bit of boost. She's running lovely. So now I'm gonna whip off all the old Toyota stuff and slap on the Bosch stuff. And after that, I won't be able to move it. So we get that done. Let's talk me through some of the parts I've needed for this ECU swap. It's actually been quite a lot of bits. Obviously, we'll start with the ECU. I've gone for a Link Extreme. And then to show data on that, I've gone for a little can check, which is like a little screen. You also then need some plugs or a loom for the ECU. Then, MAF sensor. Also, need new fuel injectors. So, I got a full set of Bosch. What were they? Got a full set of Bosch. They're the 14 range. These were the standard size ones. Get one out for you. Look a bit like this. Problem is, they don't fit in a 3UZ without adaptation. This is where it gets a little bit expensive. So on the top was not a problem. We're just adapting from the one fuel rail to the other, and you can get these little adapters. Happy days. They were cheap. Then you need adapters for the bottom, because I've got air correct, like all 3UZs and 2JZs. Then you need these little bodgers. These are ludicrously expensive. Eye-wateringly expensive, and I need 8 of them. That was painful. Here's a quick comparison of my 2 injectors. There's my original style injector. Then this is the Bosch V14 with the top cap adjuster and the base. Sweet. Next up, Bosch sensors. We have got water sensors, temperature sensors, one for the intercooler circuit and one for the water circuit. We have air temperature, one for pre-boost, one for post-boost. We have these little funky sensors. These are pressure and fuel Bosch, pressure and temperature liquid sensors, 5 pins from Bosch. They're super sexy. 2 of them, one for fuel, one for oil. Next up, knock. I've got the 1-pin knock sensors, and they ain't no good. Upgrade to the donut style. Only thing is you need an adapter thing. Boom. eBay. Adapters. Throttle body. Can't use the Toyota one. Well, you can, but it's crap. Bosch. 82mm Bosch throttle body. Very cool. Pretty inexpensive, really. These are on Porsche 911s. Pretty sweet. Only problem is it don't fit, does it? So, custom made, bad boy adapter, throttle body, supercharger to Bosch. Homemade, in-house. I just got a square bit of billet off the Tinterweb and machined it all up myself. I think that's everything. Sweet. Right, let's go and bang some of this stuff on. Well, this has been a hell of a push to get this car buttoned up, but I'm pretty much done. I'll show you around in the morning. I gotta go to bed tonight early. I'm up at 5 in the morning again for my second 5 and drive of the week. This time we are going to drop the car off somewhere outside of Cambridge. So, see you in the morning. I'm not very good in the morning, so I won't be doing much talking. minutes early. Let's get this puppy loaded up. Let's get out of there. Sun is out and we are all loaded up. Volvo is on the trailer behind a Cougar. Not my Cougar, obviously. So we got about a 4-hour road trip from here to north of Cambridge. Take it slow, take it steady. Estimated. Hopefully be back by the end of the day. 8 hours driving. What can go wrong, eh? Right, let's get cracking. Well, that is the Volvo delivered up to Martin, up at MB Motorsports. Check in for the next episode, where we have some Link ECU drama and we hustle to get ready for street weekend.